It's Sony. It's another Spider-Man property. Can they get it right? If you've been following social media and listening to all the people chatter about this movie, they're saying it's bad. But I heard that about Scream 2. And I'm here to tell you, so is my wife, that maybe it isn't. Welcome to another episode of the Popcorn Confessional. This is Dave from Nerdbox. I'm accompanied by my wife, Jenn, also from Nerdbox. And on this episode, we are talking about Morbius. So fire up that Jiffy Pop and meet us in the booth.
Michael Morbius has been suffering with a rare blood disease since he was a child, and he's dedicated his life to not just curing his ailment, but his childhood friend Milo's as well. Only his cure leads to deadly consequences for him and Milo.
Now, if you're going into this movie after Spider-Man No Way Home expecting a major epic film following that up, because they've pushed it back so many times, and a lot of the theories was like, oh my god, we gotta push Morbius back to make sure the line's correctly with No Way Home, etc. And we've seen the clips of Spider-Man in there, and we've seen the Vulture in there. Look, Sony last week or 2 weeks ago, they pulled out all the Spider-Man stuff, right? So that's the first thing I want to make sure that everybody is aware of before you go into the movie. Because if you're going in there to see just the Spider-Man, how it ties in, you may be disappointed.
Yeah.
Now, what I will say, for the people that are going into this movie that don't like it, there's a couple problems here. One, Sony really needs to change the formula. It's the same thing over and over and over again in their Marvel movies. I've seen this storyline kind of play out in the last two Venom movies. They introduce characters, they have this epic fight scene that's falling in the air, and then they lead to the ending, which always kind of pisses me off. The problem I have with this film, doesn't mean I don't like it, but the problem I have with this film is that they're about 15 years behind the current Marvel movies that are out there in quality. Like, if this came out in the early 2000s, people would be dying over this film because it's that good for that time period of a film. Otherwise, if I push all of that to the side, as a vampire fan and as a Morbius fan and a Spider-Man fan, I enjoyed the movie. I thought they delivered on a lot of good things if you look past the recycled shit that Sony has been doing. But it is entertaining. Jared Leto did freaking amazing.
Yeah, I was really happy with Jared Leto's performance in this movie. I am a really big fan of Jared Leto, so I was super disappointed in his rendition of the Joker. I know some people are like, he was the best. I disagree. I did not like him as the Joker at all. He's at like the bottom of my list in Jokers. But I loved him in so many other movies, and I loved him in My So-Called Life in the 90s. Like, I think he's an amazing actor. He's also a really good singer.
He's the best thing about the House of Gucci.
And maybe he's not even recognizable. So
he made it a comedy.
He did.
He was the best thing about the movie. He made it entertaining.
He was, because he really is an amazing actor. So I was very happy with his performance in this movie. I liked the movie. I do agree with some of the effects and stuff. They were kind of behind their time. I think a lot of people are giving it shit because they are expecting something as spectacular as Spider-Man No Way Home. Come on, people. You're just not going to compare.
Yeah, Sony has the problem of where they try to cover up their problems by making the movie dark.
Yeah.
And then there are the way they use special effects. A lot of time it blurs together. And it's as bad as when I first seen Transformers.
Yeah.
I talk about this with Chetty. He talks about it all the time too. Is like the first time I seen Transformers is when things just kind of like blur together. It's like, yeah, that's not good. And it kind of happens here in a couple instances.
It does, yeah, because I definitely picked up on that as soon as it happened. I've been watching enough Marvel movies at this point to pick up on things like that, and that was a little disappointing, but overall, I think the movie was good.
Yeah, for me, when I think about this maybe second and third and fourth tier of comic book movies, this is maybe a second tier, right? I think if you like Ghost Rider and the Fantastic Four films and Blade 2, you're probably going to like this one. Because it's on that level. It's a lot better than Venom and Carnage. Look, and I love Venom and I love Carnage, but Sony did them no justice.
No.
This here, I did leave the theater wanting to see more of this character. I wasn't annoyed by the character.
Yeah.
And then Matt Smith as Milo in the film and playing the villain, he's just perfect for a villain. Ever since we saw him in The Last Night of Soho, his voice just screams villain. And then the way he delivers, he's got a swagger to him. Yeah. When he's playing that villain, it's so nice.
Yeah, and he had that same thing in Last Night in Soho. You could just tell he was a bad guy right off the bat.
Yeah, he just has this charisma. When he's into that bad guy role, it just bleeds off the screen. So his performance was very good. I think some of the other flaws around this here as well, and I hate to be focused on the flaws, is because the story started off good, and then they kind of sped up the story with Milo and him becoming a villain. That's typical Sony fashion. Stop speeding shit up.
Yeah.
You ruin it.
Yeah.
And I think we're a little bit past all these origin stories, and we don't need to see them as much anymore.
So I think this movie actually could have stood to be a little bit longer.
Yes.
The runtime was for 145, though of course it's always shorter than what they say in runtime. That's not really what it was. It really came out to be closer to like 135, which is very short for a comic book movie. It doesn't bode well. You need that extra time. I mean, some people complain when I can't believe this movie's like 2.5 hours long, but I think you need it.
This one needed it. Yeah, because they had very good characters that they were developing, and then, again, like I said, they just rushed it to get it towards the end.
This one it should have been at that 2-hour mark, I think.
Yeah, they had 2 years too long to overthink this film, like I overthink words, like you say, and they messed it up. And I think it's recoverable.
I think so.
As many people are dogging on this movie, I think this is a good character establishment. There are 2 semi-post-credit scenes. There's a mid-credit scene, and then there's a beginning of the credit scene.
Yeah.
Don't go and wait for the end credit scene like some of the articles are saying. There's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
But good movie. I like some of the vampire elements on it because, as you know, I really love vampires. I've written stuff about vampires, and I picked up on little small things that Matt Smith was throwing out there. And his characteristics is like, yep, I think that's what somebody with this power would do.
Yeah.
Oh, yep, I see that too. Yeah. So it was nice. They flirted with a lot of cool vampire things. They didn't really go down that path, like with the becoming and them slowly transforming into that. That's where you needed to expand it. But I think there's a lot more for this character going forward.
I think so too. I think they can do a lot of really good things with this character, especially because with Morbius, he's like fighting against good and evil. You know, he's a doctor, right? He helps people. This is what he's done his entire life. He's had his degree since he was 19 years old. I mean, he's been doing this for many, many years, and he wants to be a good person, but he also wants to stay alive. He doesn't want to die. And the only way to reverse this is to kill himself.
This movie sequel should be done in maybe a 10-episode series. Because it needs that type of dedication to it. To explain the characters. And I think Jared Leto wants to kind of pull that out too, that inner struggle. And he also wants to redeem himself too. Getting flack with the Joker. I think it's a really good movie. And I will pass it over to you for what you're rated.
I would buy it.
I would see this in the theater again because I did enjoy it. And I could sit and watch it again and enjoy it again because sure, there's the flaws, but sometimes you just gotta look past that.
I'm gonna change mine because I would see it in the theater again. You know why? Because a lot of times when we take, and he can contest to this, when we take the kids to see a mid-afternoon movie, I typically fall asleep. I did not fall asleep on this movie.
And you know what? This is one that I kind of like to see again to see how it's gonna age.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be one of those movies that will age better as I watch it. Where
Venom,
when I first watched it, I was like, oh, this is going to age poorly over time. It's going to be like the Fantastic Four, where people now just shit on the Fantastic Four, and people loved it back then. And I was like, oh, that was a bad movie. You watched it, you liked it then, don't lie.
Exactly. And I think this movie too, if you go into it like a second or third time, say, you're going to be able to see things that you may have missed because you were concentrating on like all the fast movements and things like that. You may see other things. So I think you'll be able to really see the movie if you see it a second time.
I agree. Now, we're going into our 1 year anniversary. If we look a little bit brighter, it's because our light just died. Anyway, we appreciate you all inviting us into your viewing space, whether it's on your cell phone, your computer, or on your TV, like how we watch YouTube. We appreciate you helping us get to 1,000 views, or 1,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. But we do need your help in one thing. If you're watching this video, it's very important for you to like this video and the other videos that are out there on our channel. The reason being is because when you like the videos, it helps spread the word on YouTube for other people to watch it. Yeah. So if you can do that, we appreciate it. And don't forget to drop some comments in there for us too.
Yeah. Let us know your thoughts. Whether you liked it or didn't like it.
I do got a question. Doctor Strange, does that movie make you nervous? It does me.
It makes me very nervous. I gotta admit. I'm really nervous for that movie. I hope it does well.
Anyway.
Keep on liking and subscribing and sharing.
Yes. And until the next.
See ya.